Hey everybody, welcome to Mike Nierychlo online. So before I get started, I guess you can see behind me, solid chunk of door. I was out antique shopping the other day, came across a 120-year-old antique door, original hardware and everything. So the next few weeks you'll see me framing in the wine cellar behind me and using the door kind of as the feature entrance to it. Should be pretty cool when it's done, so look forward to that. Enough about that. I had a different plan about today's episode. I was going to review a different style of wine today, showcase a different variety you probably haven't tried before, or for those of you who have. Anyway, I got sidetracked on a blog slash forum on the internet I was on. So I'll give a shout out to them. It's called bcwineries.net or www.bcwineries.net. It's a great little forum. It's kind of titled, or its kind of purpose is connecting wine drinkers with winemakers of BC. And me being a huge BC wine fan, I spent a fair amount of time on there. And it's growing in popularity. It's a lot of fun, a lot of neat discussions happen, photographs, video content, all kinds of neat things are dropped by winemakers, by viewers, things like that. Anyway, I was part of a interesting discussion that popped up the other day. Or I threw my 2 bits in there, but read through a lot of it, and a couple guys even said, oh, Mike should probably do a video about this, so I thought, hey, why not, I'll throw this one in there real quick. The discussion topic that was posed, I believe the title was, how do you get your swirl on? One of the ladies on the site, Jeanette, she posted it, and the topic of discussion more or less highlighted, when you're swirling wine, if you're tasting or if you're at a restaurant or what have you, when you're swirling wine, how do you like to swirl wine? And what ways do you swirl wine differently based on your setting or based on how your day's going? I mean, the first morning swirl of a tasting day is going to be completely different from the last swirl of a final day of tastings, especially after too many tastings or something like that. So I'll quickly highlight, I mean, if you've seen my educational videos, I did a tasting episode, I think it's like the first or second episode. I talk about swirling wine, why we do it. So I'll quickly highlight that again with you. I've got a Merlot here from the Okanagan to try out with you as well. I'll talk to you a little bit about that after I go through the discussion topic on the website. Swirling wine, there's kind of 3 reasons we do it. The first main reason is to really aerate the wine, to really allow oxygen to get into it and to allow it to breathe. Allowing wine to breathe, decanting it, what have you, allowing it to breathe allows it to open up and really show its full potential. So swirling it just allows a lot more oxygen into the inside makeup of the wine. The second major reason as to why we swirl it is in oxygenating it and getting it going rapidly, it coats the outside of the glass and causes it to evaporate ever so slightly. And in doing so, that's what gives off the real fine aromas of the wine. If you just let a wine sit and do nothing, and you try to smell it, especially if you're at a tasting or something like that, and they give you those cheesy little Dixie cups, don't bother trying to swirl it, it'll go everywhere. You can't swirl it, and if it just sits here, the aromas are really locked and tight. So you'll notice, next time you pour a glass of wine, pour it, let it sit still, try to smell it. You'll smell wine, give it a real good swirl, and it fully opens up. Anyway, and the third kind of simple reason we use to swirl it, you can also see it coats the outside of the glass. You probably can't see it in the camera, but it displays the legs of the wine. And the legs of the wine kind of portray the viscosity of the wine, the thickness of it, or how much alcohol content happens to be in it, or residual sugar, things like that. You'll see different styles of legs. Some people even call them legs, and the legs are the runs, the clear runs you see around the glass. An old term for them is church windows. They have that kind of arch to them and they drip down the side of the glass. Anyway, when it comes to swirling wine for me, I'm just most comfortable with doing what I feel like in that moment. If you're just starting out as a wine fan and you're uncomfortable swirling, especially if you're served wine at a restaurant and you're supposed to taste it and you're all nervous, or you're tasting it or taste it, the best way to do it, find a solid flat surface, usually there's a tasting bar, hold the bottom of the glass, just hold the very bottom and just slide it on the table, and the wine will pretty much naturally swirl for you. Just slide it in a circular motion. I like to go counterclockwise. I'm right-handed, seems to work the best for me. When you flush a toilet, it flushes counterclockwise on this part of the earth. I mean, you go to Australia, I've heard you flush a toilet, it goes clockwise, which would really screw with me if I was there. Anyway, you also drive on the other side of the road, so whole other story. A few people posted what they do for swirling wine. So I'll just read off the quick little summary of what they had to say. Kirby on the website, he's a lefty, just like I just said, and he swirls, he likes to do it freehand without a table and counterclockwise. I'm not even gonna bother. Forget it, it's not happening. My left hand is about as useful as my left foot. But anyway, good on him. Southpaws always interest me. They can do so many more interesting things than we can. Except they smear their ink when they're writing on paper if they're not careful. Bradley. He likes to swirl in the air, typically. I mean, if you get used to swirling in the air, especially quite often you're drinking wine at a party, you're standing, you're not sitting at a table. So you want to get used to swirling in the air. It's all about being loose to swirl it properly. Bradley likes to swirl it in the air, but after he's had a few, he likes to find a table. And I completely agree with Bradley. That's a very smart idea, because when you first get to a party and you're all, oh yeah, it's nice to see you, I'm swirling my wine, blah, 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 blah. After 3 or 4 glasses, hey guys, I'm swirling my wine. Oh. So you find a table, works out good. Kathleen, no matter what, she'll find a solid surface to swirl on. She says her hands and her hand-eye coordination is basically like 2 left feet. So she's very confident in using a table and she sticks to it. Good for her. Luke, he likes to swirl it in the air and close to his nose. In doing so, you're getting the initial aromas right away, which I do agree with a lot, Luke. So you put it up right away, you get the initial aromas, what the wine is putting off right away. I mean, when you're sitting, the glass is so close to your nose anyway, and a good pointer, when you're sitting and you swirl it, you can also really see the colors of the wine up against a tablecloth, especially a light one like I've got here. John, in the air, but he recommends always to swirl wine in the way that you're most comfortable. And what he states is, it's bad enough that we have to spit it at tastings. If we're going to be spilling it too, we're really being wasteful. And he doesn't like wasting the precious liquid in the glass. So if you're not a very good swirler, put it down and swirl it properly. That's his opinion. And Kevin, last but not least, he's kind of in the same boat as what I say. Swirl in what makes you feel the most comfortable. And you know what, when it comes to swirling wine, don't be intimidated about it. Just try it, learn it. If you have to learn on the spot, it's a bit trickier, but grab a wine glass and just swirl it. Most wine glasses now are made with that caved in top, so that, I mean, it's almost impossible to swirl it out no matter how hard you swirl it. Yeah, so next time you're swirling wine, think about it. Think about how you swirl it, what makes a difference when you're swirling it, what you're the most comfortable with. And I'd love to see some comments below. How long did it take you to learn to swirl wine, or how do you swirl your wine? Left-handed, right-hand, clockwise, counterclockwise. It's just kind of a fun thing to talk about. A bit silly, but the whole point is we want to swirl the wine so we get the true aroma out of it. Anyway, joining me today, I have the Young and Wise 2008 Merlot. Now, Young and Wise, I'll show you the bottle here. One thing I picked this bottle, found interesting. I'll just read the little back snippet to you. Long-time Burrowing Owl winemaker. Burrowing Owl is a very well-known winery in the Okanagan. They produce some very nice wines. I find you can almost never go wrong with Burrowing Owl. Long-time Burrowing Owl winemaker and self-proclaimed black sheep, Stephen Wise and his partner, Michelle Young, have left the flock to launch their own line of exceptional wines, the Young and Wise Collection. I like the name. It's kind of a snarky name. It's very interesting. They're out of Osoyoos, and they're just trying to make really nice, and coming from Burrowing Owl, I've always been pretty trusting of Burrowing Owl in their wine, so I'm really curious to see what these guys are making. Like I said, 2008 Merlot. Typical Merlot color, kind of that clean ruby red. No signs of age or anything yet. Okay, on the nose. I've given it a good swirl. On the nose, I get a lot of big, black, ripe, tart, black cherries. They're really coming through on this. Tart, black, ripe cherries. There's a lot of that. As well, I find a really interesting smokiness, or kind of charcoal, to this one, which I really enjoy. I like when I come across smoke or charcoal. It just gives it that neat essence. I think it sometimes comes from the toasting of the oak, or it just could be one of those things the grape gives off, but yeah, neat charcoal, maybe a hint of pepper. Actually, not so much a hint of pepper, but more like pepperoni stick. Like, you know when you stop at a gas station on a road trip and you get one of those pepperoni and cheese sticks? It smells like a pepperoni stick from the Mohawk or whatever, the truck stop you stopped at halfway in the middle of nowhere on an epic road trip. A little bit of pepperoni or something on those, some deep cured meat, we'll put it that way. Yeah, interesting. See how the palate does for me. And there we go, spitting the wine. Actually, it's quite a nice, fairly balanced palate. It's drinking quite nicely now, actually. I think all the swirling I've done has really caused it to open up. If the tannins were biting it all, they may have really dissipated from all the swirling we've done. But the tannins are quite nice and they've integrated well. They're very food-friendly tannins, but you could drink this on its own as well. They're slightly tight. You could lie this down for a couple more years. I wouldn't go much more than a couple more years, though. A lot of nice fruit. Again, the black cherry is really coming through on this. And a hint of pepperiness. Almost like vegetal. You know, I'd almost venture to say kind of green bell pepper. Something like that on the palate. Yeah. It's fairly complete. I apologize, I forgot the price of this wine. I'll have it written in my review below. It comes across ever so slightly sweet. It's quite a nice Merlot, actually. Fairly well balanced. Good length. It is lacking ever so slightly in the mid palate. Kind of skips over that, or it's a little bit, it's more tart and stuff, but the flavor kind of passes over. But this is really nice. This would be a really good cheese wine, spaghetti wine. This is kind of all around wine. I'd almost have this wine with a burger. Not a bad wine at all. I quite like it. I'd go ahead and say it's a good wine. I'd give it about 88 points. Yeah, I like it. Well done, ex-guys from Burrowing Owl. See what else you guys have to offer. I think they do a Syrah as well and a few other things. I'm excited to try them out. So anyway, hope you learned a little bit about swirling today. And anybody on bcwineries.net, if you see this video, comment on it. Let me know what you think. Let me know what I missed, what I should have added, or if you're happy with what I said. Yeah, have a lot of fun with wine tasting. Can't wait to meet some of you people and some of the fans from my site watching this as well. Hope all of you are having a great week. Have a good evening, and we'll see you on the next one.